Καλημέρα σας. Σας ευχαριστούμε όλους που ήρθατε στην εκδήλωσή μας, που πραγματοποιείται από τον ΕΛΚΕ του Ελληνικού Ανοιχτού Πανεπιστημίου και από το Γραφείο Υποστήριξης Ερευνών του ΕΛΚΕ. Σήμερα θα ακολουθήσει μια ομιλία της κυρίας Καρίνα Σότινγκ, που είναι διευθύντρια του Incubator και Accelerator Programs στο University City Science Center της Φιλαδέλφια. Και ελπίζουμε να βρείτε ενδιαφέρουσα την εκδήλωσή μας. Εγώ θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω και την κυρία Μόνικα Κάμιξ, η οποία είναι η Chancellor Public Affairs της Αμερικανικής Πρεσβείας, διότι αυτή η εκδήλωση και η φιλοξενία της κυρίας Σότινγκ γίνεται με τη χορηγία της Αμερικανικής Πρεσβείας και μας έχει βοηθήσει πάρα πολύ σε όλη αυτή τη διοργάνωση. Θα μιλήσουμε και στα αγγλικά εξαιτίας των φιλοξενουμένων. Εγώ θα σας κάνω μια μικρή παρουσίαση ως εισαγωγή. Αυτή τη στιγμή κάνουμε στο Γραφείο Υποστήριξης Ερευνών. Good morning again. I have to do a small introduction in Greek. Actually, the Research Support Division has been operating since February 2016 in the Hellenic Open University, and it's an integral part of the Special Account Research Fund Department. The main tasks of our office is the providing administrative support to all submission stages of project proposals taking place within the framework of European Union projects, also to the national grant programs, and communicate with the administrative authorities during all preparing stages of project proposals, to provide to academic staff and the researchers the whole package of information they need about the new grant programs and opportunities. And also, we are responsible for the implementation of a variety of projects of the Hellenic Open University, like Horizon 2020, FP7, and of course, internal research projects. Another task, which is related to our conversation today, it's the promoting of innovation and entrepreneurship among researchers, students, and graduates by implementing, also as an action, the business competition of the Hellenic Open University, and this year with the participation also with the Technological Education Institute of Western Greece. Also, we are taking part to the organization of the annual exhibition PATRAS IQ, as we're here today. We are trying to encourage the cooperation between academic community and entrepreneurship stakeholders, and to plan and organize supervising the participation process of the Hellenic Open University to events related to research, technology transfer, and innovations. And also, we are trying to plan and suggesting new innovative services for the development of the Research Support Division. Now, how this today. This speech of Ms. Karina Sotnik related to our division. I have invited by the American Embassy in Athens to the United States under the auspices of the Department of State's International Visitors Leadership Program during this October of 2017. The project was named Promoting Youth Entrepreneurship and Higher Education in the U.S. Some of the specific objectives of the project were to provide tools and examples of how tertiary level education institutions help students and alumni start their own businesses through programs and web-based services. Also, to discuss with public and private partnerships for investments in centers for innovation and entrepreneurship, to learn ways to promote entrepreneurship in and to examine how the U.S. experience. We were very lucky Of course, we explore successful ways for running research parks, and not to say a lot of things, but generally to see the American experience, how to promote entrepreneurship in the United States universities. We are very excited that this visit included 4 cities: Washington, D.C., Austin, and San Antonio in Texas, and Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. The study visits include private and public organizations related with the promotion of entrepreneurship, like schools, universities, technology transfer offices, incubators, and accelerators. One of the visits were in the City Science Center in Philadelphia, and with the support of the American Embassy in Athens, we asked to invite for a 3-day visit in PATRAS Ms. Karina Soting, the Business Incubation Accelerator Program Director there, which is one of the older and largest incubations and accelerators in the United States. I hope to enjoy her speech, and it's a great honor for us to be there. Also, I would like to thank the president of our ΕΛΚΕ, Mrs. Rusu, that support all this organization, and all of you to be here today. Thank you, and I give.
Thank you. Thank you, Pierre. And can I ask to turn on the air conditioning? Well, thank you so much for inviting me here. It's such a pleasure to be in PATRAS, to be at the PATRAS IQ. I also want to extend my sincere thanks to Monica and Evgenia. Thank you so much for making this happen. And to my personal hero, Theodoros, who've been with me since the beginning and very helpful for introducing me to everyone here. So let me tell you maybe a little bit about myself and why is it that you're listening to me in the first place. So I always believe that luck is a really important component in the success of a person or a business. You can have all the right ingredients, but if you don't have luck, it might not happen. So I got really lucky 30 years ago when I escaped from the Soviet Union and ended up in San Francisco in 1988 with an engineering degree. And it was the right place and the right time to be there because I got involved with Silicon Valley companies, and I became a senior director for international business development, which means I took US companies internationally, and I joined startups and learned the techniques of startups from early on. I went with 2 companies through the initial public offering. I was extremely rich on paper. I lost it all in 2000. It was an excellent lesson to learn. And it's a perfect American story, right? Then I moved from San Francisco to Philadelphia. For those of you who don't know where Philadelphia is, it's on the other coast of the United States. It's 1 hour from New York, and it's 2 hours from Washington, D.C. It's a perfect location to be. So in Philadelphia, I started my own business. I actually decided to import product from Europe and manufacture my own product in Europe as well. So the business was very successful. I was named Entrepreneur of the Year. I was on the cover of Philadelphia magazine. My business was named Best of Philadelphia until the countries where I was manufacturing from, the Baltic countries, joined European Union and converted to euro. So sometimes you cannot foresee these things with your business. Geopolitical things change. And so as a result, the production cost, the labor cost tripled. The transportation cost doubled. And 2008 rolled in with the economy crisis, so I had to close my business. The lessons that I learned from that were invaluable. So the first lesson is, when you grow your own company, you get so emotionally attached to it that you cannot step back and analyze data by yourself. So I always recommend to young entrepreneurs or older entrepreneurs, bring someone from outside to look at your concrete data and tell you if you're on the right path. because in hindsight, I should have closed my business a year earlier than I did. So after that, I went and lived for 1 year in Europe and got engaged with an academic incubator and start helping young startups within the academia. And then I came back to United States and joined University of Pennsylvania. For those of you who don't know, it's in the top 5 universities in the United States. It has the best business school in the world called Wharton Business School. So I joined their incubator and I grew a portfolio of companies coming out of that university. My portfolio included 19 companies, mostly in IT, health IT, mobile technologies, and robotics. And I started and ran Accelerator for mobile apps, which is a really important segment of Pennsylvanian economy. About 30% of our economy comes from mobile businesses. And so to start this accelerator and to work with doctors and nurses and engineers who all have excellent idea was a really good experience for me. And 6 months ago, I joined the oldest, as Theo said, and the largest science center or incubator in the United States. It's 53 years old. And instead of working with 1 university, I now work with 32 universities. And in addition to that, I started a new program for international companies who are interested in coming to the United States, because I'm really passionate about international business, and I think every company should be global, whether it's a US company or international company. All right, so with this said, I put together sort of a hodgepodge of slides to take you through entrepreneurial odyssey from the idea to a business. And some of it could be basic, and I apologize for that, but sometimes we have to start with basics. But I also want to make it interactive, okay? All right, let's start. All right, so you have an idea and want to start a company. Now what? I see some of the familiar faces here. I gave a talk yesterday at POS, is that how you say it? In this new technique called prototyping. So I'm going to repeat it a little bit, but for those of you who were not at that talk, I encourage you to Google prototyping, it's P-R-E-totyping, and read books about it, because it's a new technique and it's really good technique to validate your idea fast. Okay? All right, so you want to start a company. I'm going to start with the really bad news. So most startups fail, and statistically, it's proven. So 80 to 90% of new products fail in the market. 4 out of 5 startups lose investors' money. 90% of mobile apps just sit in a mobile store and don't get into the hands of consumers. 78% of projects in the large corporations disappear within 4 years. I know, I'm getting you all depressed. I will get out of here soon. And 16% of 50% of strategic projects are abandoned, okay? So this happens to the best. These are all the failed Google products that never, wait, what happened? I'm going through slides and you guys don't see it. Let me start from the beginning. What happened? And no one said anything, come on. Okay, let's see. But let me go through this real quick again. I apologize. Okay, we're in business. Or not. Hold on 1 second. What's going on here? Technical difficulties. Okay. Yes, this is some visual for you. So this is a lovely slide with all of the Google products that failed in the market. So it happens to the best. And the music comes not from my presentation, no. It also happens to the biggest. These are all failed Microsoft products. So for those of you that don't know, Google has a running page of all the failed Microsoft products, and Microsoft has a running page of all the failed Google products. So that's where this information is coming from. It even happened to the best. So in early 90s, I lived in Palo Alto next to a company called Next, which was a big failed company from Steve Jobs.
I bought one.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful black computer. Right, exactly. Never went anywhere. So, with this said, you can still get lucky. According to the CEO of Dropbox, don't worry about the failure. You only have to be right once, right? Okay. So, why is it still a great idea to start a company? Well, first of all, startups are a great equalizer, right? You can be very young and inexperienced, or you can be older and experienced. You still have the same chance, pretty much, of getting it right. And we have plenty of examples of that. You can be poor and unknown, and while it's not really beneficial to you in the large corporations, it's a great asset when you have a startup, because no one knows you. You can just start fresh. It's a really perfect timing. I hear this all the time in Greece. We are coming out of recession. We're in an economic downturn. This is a perfect timing to start a company. And I will talk about it a little later when we talk about timing. However, you should never start a company just for the sake of starting a company, because there are ways to get rich faster, definitely. Everyone who started a company always say that they have never imagined how hard it is to run a startup, okay? All right, so you still want to have a startup. When I told my 2 teenage daughters that I'm going to deliver this keynote, they asked me, what is the most important thing you want your audience to remember? And they said, please emphasize it. So I emphasize it here at the bottom of this slide. You should only start your company if you're really passionate and compelled about solving a particular problem. And by starting a company, it's the best way to solve the problem. So I cannot emphasize this enough, how important it is to fall in love with a problem and not with a solution or a product. As I walked around today at the PATRAS IQ, there are some amazing ideas. And yet when people talk to me about it, they immediately tell me about their product. This is not what it should be about. It should be about, here is the problem, we understand it, and this is our solution, and it's the best solution for this particular problem. So if, again, if you will forget everything else that I will tell you today, this is probably the most important message that you should take with you. Your company is in the business of solving a particular problem, not in the business of selling a particular product, okay? All right. So there are 5 basic but most important fundamental ingredients to any successful company. And of course, there are many more, but these are 5 fundamentals. So the original idea that solves the original problem, the timing of the company, and we will talk about that, a solid team, a business model or an execution, and funding. Okay, so I'm going to talk about all 5 ingredients, and then I'm going to show you a really interesting research that came out of comparing which of these ingredients became the most important. Actually, if we have to guess right now, what do you think out of these 5 fundamentals, which one is the most important? Which one?
The problem.
The problem, okay.
Team.
Team, okay. Team, funding, okay. Timing, okay. All right, wonderful. 2 of you are right, and the rest of you are not. So let's keep going. So let's start with solving the problem. When you solve a particular problem, it's really important to understand that you're actually solving the right problem. Let me talk a little bit about the big problem in the world. There are 20 million premature babies are born every year in the world. 6 million of these babies don't make it. and mostly in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. And the reason they don't make it, that they don't survive, is because they're born in a remote location, and it takes too long to get them in the ambulance to a hospital where they can be incubated in a $20,000 incubator that is available otherwise in the developing countries. So researchers at Stanford decided to solve this idea. How do you help these babies survive? So they looked at this, okay, can we make cheaper incubators? Can we make faster ambulances? So this is what's called the reframing the problem, right? You need to keep asking why. Is this really a problem, or is there some underlying more important problem? So is making faster ambulances going to solve this problem? Is making ambulances that are at the right temperature is going to solve this problem? So the fundamental problem of babies not surviving is that they have to be in the same temperature as the womb for a long period of time. And it's hard to do if you don't have running electricity around, right? So when they went through all possible solutions, the faster ambulances, the ambulances with incubators in them, the most fundamental problem became how to keep babies warm. And that's how the product, the portable carrier that retains temperature and can retain temperature for days without electricity, became the solution. So the incubator cost $20,000. The baby carrier that saves lives costs $300. And this is the real product that came out of this search for what is the underlying problem that we're solving. So when you look at the problem, and again, I emphasize, again, you have to look at the problem. When you look at the problem you're solving, ask yourself, why? Is this the right solution? Is this the right solution? So when you fall in love with the problem and not the solution, you can change solutions until you find the right one, okay? I think I beat that horse. Now you understand what you need to look at. So yesterday I gave a seminar on prototyping. So once you identify the problem that you want to solve, the next step is to validate it, and to validate it fast and cheap. You don't want to spend year or years or even month building something that at the end it's not the right product. You want to validate it within hours or days without spending much time or money on it. So prototyping is an excellent technique. I'm not going to go into great details about it because it's another 30-minute seminar, but I encourage you to Google it and read about it. However, I am going to give you a few examples so you understand what prototyping is. Prototyping essentially is faking it in order to get the right data from the market. So this is not a very new idea. It's been tried long before, and my favorite example is the IBM, and I apologize for people who heard me yesterday. I'll have to repeat that. So I love this example because it shows that prototyping not only works for startups, it also works for a larger corporation. So in the 1980s, IBM was in the business of making big mainframe machines, and they decided that they want to go into personal computers. So when they looked at the market, they realized that their biggest barrier to entry is the fact that people didn't know how to type. Because in the 1980s, the only people that knew how to type were programmers and specially trained typists, right? So they decided that because this is the problem that they're solving, they're going to solve it by creating new technology of voice to text. So people will speak, and the text will appear on the computer. So they went to the customers and they asked them, dear customer, do you want this product? And customers said, oh yeah, we would love to have this product, and we will pay good money for it, $10,000 per license. IBM said, wonderful. So instead of spending millions of dollars on creating this technology and years, they invited customers back to test the new product. So customers came into the room, isolated room. They sat down in front of the microphone, and they started to talk. And indeed, text appeared on a screen. So after testing it for a day, customers didn't know that there was a typist sitting in the next room typing everything they were saying. But after testing it for a day, the customer said, you know what? We really didn't like it because our voice hurt, the noise level when everyone is doing it is too much, and we are concerned about confidentiality issues. So by faking it, IBM learned really valuable data, right? And saved themselves millions in time and money. So this is essentially what prototyping is, and there are multiple different techniques that you can use to get this data. Another great example is Zappos, which is the online shoe company, right? When they started, they created a fake web interface. It was a wonderful website with sneakers on it. When people clicked on the sneakers and put down their credit cards, the founder of Zappos went to the store, bought the sneakers, and shipped it himself until he validated that there is enough demand in the market, and then he built the back end and the inventory and the storage. So again, many ways to validate your idea very quickly through a technique like prototyping. All right, so you validated and data seems to be solid. So what's now? What's next? So it seems like there is a demand. What's next? Develop. Not yet. Not yet. You can still develop something that no one would want. So the next big thing is get out of the building and talk to your potential customers, right? There's a whole program called I-Core developed by National Science Foundation, NSF, in the United States that is run at various universities that basically the whole program is dedicated to what we call customer discovery, right? It's a 12-week program, and every week, once a week, researchers that are working on a problem are forced to get out of their labs, get out of their offices, and actually talk to potential customers, right? And by being forced to talk to potential customers, 10 customers a week, in fact, by the end of 12-week program, they talk to 120 people. And by talking to 120 people, you really figure out what they want, right? And then you can go back and build it. I'll give you one example, which poor Theo heard already 5 times. So in our I-Core program, we had a wonderful project, now company, that developed a novel technique of encapsulating chemotherapy into gold particles, because gold particles are attracted to the tumor and do not affect tissues, healthy tissues around the tumor. So you can deliver chemotherapy exactly to where it's needed without side effects of affecting healthy tissues, right? So they developed this technique, or they developed some data for it, and they thought that every oncologist on the planet would want to use this product. So they went and they talked to many oncologists, and oncologists said, nope, not interested. So then they discovered that radiologists are the one that really interested in this. So through the discovery, you can really figure out not only what they want, but also who your customer is. And it's probably the most important thing early on in the life of the company. All right? So, love this slide. Data is everything, and data is everywhere, and use every possible technique to get as much data as possible, because it will not only help you build the right product, it will help you talk to your investors, okay? All right. So now, let's talk about timing. Can you tell me what this represents? Like, what is significant about these 2 things? What unites these 2 things? Okay. Van Gogh and Kafka. Right, right, right. Exactly. The metamorphosis, the bug. So Kafka wrote wonderful books, never been recognized in his lifetime. Van Gogh died in poverty, never been recognized in his lifetime. Very poor timing for both. Okay. Now, let me give you another example of a great timing. So when I talk about financial crisis being a great time to start a company, these examples are perfect examples of that. So in 2004, No one in their right mind would ever envision that renting out sofa in your house will be a successful business. But 2008 rolled in, people were out of work, people were desperate to make money, and Airbnb was born, right? The same for Uber. So you can, again, focus on the problem and find the right timing for it. Is now, you know, when you talk to investors, very important message to give them is why now? Why this moment, not 2 years ago and not 2 years from now? Why your product is here now? So timing is exceptionally important. All right, so let's talk about next step, which is building a team. So you cannot do it alone, that's given, right? So what is the right combination of a startup team? I usually recommend 2 to 3 people because you cannot do it all yourself, plus you don't have all the skills. So what you really need to find is basically, sorry for that, but marriage without sex, right? You need to find a partner who will be with you all the time through this journey that complements your skills, that you have the right chemistry with, very important. And the first step is to recognize what you don't know, right? And find people, they do what you don't know. So 2 to 3 co-founders is usually ideal, looking for complementary skills. Now, I interviewed many investors, and a lot of investors said that the first thing they look at in a team or in a founder is integrity. What is integrity? Person does what they say they do in the time frame that they do it, right? Someone that you can really trust. Very important. Entrepreneurship, right? Being flexible, being risky, can take a risk, can be agile and pivot. Okay. So these are probably great ingredients for a successful team, right? You support each other, you solve hard problems together, you communicate in a very open way. I've seen teams fail because of the communication problems. You have to have this magic chemistry. So let me step back. When I worked at the university at the incubator, we helped professors start companies. So in my view, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but in my view, professors make lousy business people. So our job was to start the company with a professor and then find that entrepreneur, that CEO, to join the company. And we always looked for that chemistry. We were sort of matchmakers that were putting 2 people together to see if there is a right chemistry to work in a company. And if it's not, we would not hire even the most qualified entrepreneur. Okay? So chemistry is essential. And complementary skills, as I said. All right. Any questions about team? Timing? Data? All right, we're moving on. Okay, so business model. Well, you can have, 6-month seminars on business model, right? So I'm not going to go into business model. I'm only going to say that business model is essential, and it has to change, right? What you think your business model initially might be completely different 2 months from now, 2 weeks from now. So make sure that you're okay with pivoting, changing it depending on the data that you collect from your customers, from the market. Here's my favorite quote. So, vision without execution is a hallucination, said Thomas Edison, and he is absolutely right. You need to be able to have your vision for the problem you're solving and then execute it in a way that it becomes a company, a product, a service, a solution. Okay? All right. And next of our 5 ingredients comes money. So again, you can do a whole seminar or even a class on how to pitch to investors. When I work with entrepreneurs, I always tell them to have elevator pitch, 30 seconds, 1 minute, very, very important. And again, as I walk around the conference today and I talk to a lot of companies, they're all trying to give me a pitch about the product. and I don't understand the product. Tell me what the problem is that you're solving. Always start with the problem. And when you start with the problem, start it in the terms that the investor can understand. Okay? Bring them to feel the pain of the problem that you're solving. Get them involved emotionally, even in the elevator pitch, even in the 30 to 60 seconds. Evoke emotions so that the investor is already interested, and then tell them about the solution. Okay? So keep it short, keep it simple, keep it memorable. Why, how, why. This is a really great example of how to use emphasize the three words, right? What is mint.com? It's a free, easy way to manage your money online, okay? And never use a jargon unless you're presenting to a customer who understands what you're talking about, because it's the easiest way to lose an investor, okay? KISS stands for keep it simple, so keep it simple, okay? All right, so again, what is the problem that you're solving? Who has this problem, so who is your potential customer? And what is your solution to that? Really simple. I suggest the first time you pitch to an investor, keep it to 5 slides. If they start asking questions, great. But your first pitch should be never more than 30 minutes, and you just want to whet their appetite. If they're interested, they will start asking questions. You can have backup slides. Never come to the first presentation with 15 or 30 or, God forbid, 45 slides, right? You will lose them immediately. 5 slides, okay? And there are plenty of information available about it online, so go search. There's a great, on the TechCrunch, there is a great presentation on, from a person who raised $10 million with 5 slides. So go find those 5 slides. Okay, and then what is your solution, right? How you're going to make your customer happy is the most important thing here. All right. So now we come to the fun part. So we talked about 5 ingredients, and I only have 8 minutes to finish, so let me go quickly. We talked about 5 ingredients, and some of you voiced different opinions which of those ingredients are the most important. So how many of you heard of Idea Lab? Idea Lab started in 1996 by Bill Gates, not Bill Gates, Bill Gates. And it was basically the first incubator. It was the first investor that decided to invest into startups and incubate them, so really early on. He incubated one of the most known companies in the world. So over the years, they incubated 180, I think right now, companies in the last 18 years. And you recognize a lot of names here, I'm sure. So when they stepped back a couple years ago and analyzed the data coming from all these companies, they identified the 5 ingredients that we talked about today as the most important, essential elements for the success of any company. And then they analyzed data to see which of these ingredients became the most important in the success or the failure of the company. You ready for that? Okay, all right. So they looked across all 130 companies, and they analyzed the idea, the team and the execution, their business model, the funding, and the timing. Okay. Here are some of the companies that they analyzed and collected the data. Okay, some of their unicorn companies, including Airbnb, including YouTube. And the solution was, drum roll, okay, timing. Timing became the most important ingredient for your company. So there were companies before YouTube that were doing essentially the same thing, but the broadband was not there yet. So YouTube came on the market at the right place, at the right time, and boom, it was a great success. Same with Airbnb. There were companies trying to do the same thing, never worked, right? So timing, and the next most important thing is your team. So think about that as you work on your company. Again, you're solving the problem. This is the most important message I want you to take. And then timing for your solution, and then team. And then business model and funding came much later. And because business models can change, you can start a company and then, like Facebook, and then come up with a business model, right? Funding You can start a company like Twitter and then have funding. But timing and the team and the essential problem that you're solving are the most important ingredients here. All right. So the failures, again, no market need. So you're not building the right it. So that's why prototyping becomes a really important tool for you to test your data frequently. Am I building the right thing? Do they want it? Right? So no market need is the biggest factor for the failure. Running out of money, yes. So, you know, something in the execution, something in the team, something in the premise, original premise of the idea might not work. Not the right team. The pricing. Okay. So, yes, I'm not going to repeat myself here. I like this a lot. So sometimes your idea, like Airbnb, sounds ridiculous, but in the right place and at the right time, it's a winning idea. Same happened to Twitter. When they went and they tried to pitch Twitter to investors, everyone turned them down, every single investor. Okay? Right. First it's ridiculed, then it's opposed, and then it's accepted. Okay. Let me quickly talk about going global. I am, as I said, passionate about it. I think every business from the beginning should think global. You validate your idea and your customer locally, because you have a fair advantage there, but you think globally from the beginning, and you design your product for global outreach from the beginning. So if you're successful in Greece, and maybe you're already selling to Balkans, or maybe you're already selling in Germany, the next big market for you is United States, obviously. It's a very compelling market, and right now there's a lot of support there for companies like yours, because United States has a lot of hubs that help companies to incubate, to accelerate, to get them into US market. You have to do your research and look which of the accelerators, which of the incubation services are right for you. But I always advise company not to go alone, but always go to the hubs where they can help you. Because I see again and again how international companies are trying to come to US, and they come to the place where they have a cousin, or they have to the place because at the trade show they talked to someone and they said, come to us. And it's never a success. A success is where you go deliberately with a plan, and the right place with the right program can help you do that. So this is a good map of the best places in the US to end up. I spoke with a company yesterday at the Science Park. They do product for chip manufacturers. And as much as I would want them to come to Philadelphia, we cannot help them. They need to be in Texas, where they're chip manufacturers, or in California. And they know that. So it's Austin or San Francisco, basically. But if you're a company in healthcare, digital health, mobile health, any kind of life science, any kind of biotech, I advocate for Philadelphia. Everyone heard of San Francisco. Everyone wants to go to San Francisco. It's the last place you need to be, unless this is the only place you can be in the United States. San Francisco is so expensive. The talent is so expensive, and the talent leaves your company. Every year, people change companies, right? You want to be somewhere where it's inexpensive with a lot of support, where you have access to talent for cheap. So again, I'm going to plug in Philadelphia here because, as I said, we're 1 hour from New York, so access to capital. We have 130 universities in our location, so access to talent is there. We're 23% cheaper than Boston, and yet we have the same access to the industry and universities. And if you need regulatory, any regulations, Washington, D.C. is 2 hours on a train. So again, do your due diligence, look for the right program. There are specific accelerators for very specific verticals. If you're in fintech, look for fintech accelerator. If you're in digital health, look for digital health. These are the people that can help you the most. So I come from this science center. We've been doing this for now 53 years. We work with 32 universities. This is our statistics. we think we know what we're doing. So as I'm developing this international program, what I envision is helping startups coming out of foreign markets. If you're already going to United States for a conference or a trade show, come to us for our boot camp. We will help you put together a plan for US expansion. This is the map that shows all the universities in 3 states that Science Center is working on. We can pick up a phone and connect you to the right person, to the right entrepreneur, to the right researcher. And this is what you're going to learn going through our boot camp. And that will create a roadmap for expansion into the United States market. So this, in my view, is the best way to enter any foreign market. And we're here to help you. All right, I'll stop my sales pitch now, and I will open it to questions. Thank you. Look, 31 minutes. How is that? All right. Any questions? Yes?
I mean, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
It was a great talk. And I really liked your motto right at the beginning, fall in love with the problem.
Yeah.
With the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which reminds me, there was a professor of linguistics, Maurice Hallett, after my died recently. And he would always say, it's one thing to have ideas and another thing to have theories, right? So it's precisely that's the point, right? That you can have many ideas, but when you do science, you have to transform them into some theory so that other people can follow. And when you look for a startup, you really need to identify the problem.
Exactly.
And I could tell that you're really experienced because you could really point out what the problem with this distribution is, and people talk about their ideas because they think that this is what they have to do.
Yeah.
It's very hard to identify the problem.
Exactly.
And I think right now, because we are, I mean, the situation in Greece is such that we really support having new ideas and new companies. I think people have to be educated and trained to look at the real problem, right? What the society needs from us.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. So let me give you some example of that. And it's true in lots of places. For the University of Pennsylvania, I started the accelerator for mobile apps. I lived 3 years in Los Angeles, and the running joke in Los Angeles was that everyone has an idea for a movie script. And so when I moved to Philadelphia, I decided that everyone has an idea for a mobile app, right? So we decided to open up this call for ideas to the entire university, professors, students, staff. You know, the secretary might have a wonderful idea. Doctors and nurses at the hospital that is attached to university. So we opened it to everyone, and we deliberately made the submission of the idea really easy. So basically, you give us what your idea is in 240 characters or less, so 2 tweets, essentially. You tell us what the problem you're solving, who is going to use it, and who's going to pay for it. That's it. So we usually collected between 300 and 400 ideas. Only 10% of professors submitted their ideas. The rest, 90%, came from students. Graduate students, MBA students, most of them came from MBA students from the best business school in the country, in the world. And so then I asked 25 investors from all around the country to evaluate these ideas. I decided that I alone cannot decide which idea is good, but investors actually know because they put money on it. And so my ask to investor was, can you please tell me if it's a business, this idea? Is it scalable and is it fundable? So they evaluated 400 ideas, and we selected top 10 out of 400 that all the investors agree was a brilliant idea. And then I partnered with 5 software development companies. They came in and they chose 1 each, so 5 altogether, and they built free prototype. So, but why I'm telling you this? What was interesting to me, that when I ask investors to look at the ideas, I hid the information who these ideas were from. Professor or a student or a doctor, they had no idea. They just looked at the ideas itself. So in a top 5, every year, we run it for 5 years, every year, 4 out of 5 were submissions by professors. Why? Because they solved the real problems. Now, students solve problems like ordering drinks at the bar. dating apps, ordering food at the restaurants. I mean, they solve their immediate little ideas, and they don't step back to look at the world and what is the social impact of their ideas and what is the problem that they're really solving, right? So that just illustrates your point, right? So when you teach students, please ask them to look at the broader world and what is the problem that they're solving. Yeah.
I mean, that's a basic thing, right? That
Yeah.
you have to teach your students plus the question.
Exactly.
You cannot submit a research proposal unless you set a clear question.
Yeah. All right, yes.
About the science center bootcamp you have. About this.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. About the science bootcamp you have mentioned, I should ask, of course, I'm quite new to this. Is there a cost to this service?
Yeah, yeah. So yes, there is a cost. So we're looking at the companies, not really early stage startups, but startups that already at revenue. So we don't have to prove market traction. So we already know that you have a product that customers need. So you already should have revenue or be well funded. And the cost is just enough to keep us going, and that includes housing. And so for 7 days or 10 days, it's $7,000. And what I suggest when you're ready to do this, maybe look for organizations here that can help you pay that. Maybe you pay half, and some economic development agencies pay half.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you for your very nice presentation.
Sure.
I got 2 points here. We're talking about startups, and probably here in Greece, startups are linked mainly with the student society or young entrepreneurship. After 8 years of great recession here in Greece, SMEs mainly have faced severe problems and tried to reinvent themselves. I think this link that you were talking about with universities and entrepreneurship or investors or labs or hubs with the real world, and is really important. And another thing really important is the link between the teams that we saw how important are in building good entrepreneurship or good businesses. Yeah. I think that is something that has to be discussed in order to form teams between experienced or business people that were facing this tremendous disaster, economic disaster, these 8 years here in Greece. And that's a timing for all of us to sit in a table and discuss and see these failures as a pitch in order to make better things. So the link between universities and the real market, and bringing together teams with experienced people and students with new ideas. You just said that professors had 4 out of 5 ideas that really solved problems.
Yes.
Students also bring new ideas, fresh ideas, and energy. If we bring that all together, maybe that would be maybe the key of success of the next business environment here in Greece mainly, and this is probably more easy to go global.
Yeah, yeah. I think creating the right infrastructure to support that activity is really important, especially at the academia, at the universities. But actually, in the United States, the average age of an entrepreneur starting a company is 40 years old. Usually someone 40 years old with kids. So I mean, there are plenty of students, obviously, that start a company, and young people, and people that quit college altogether to run a company. But if you look at all of the startups, it's, as I said, it's an equalizer. You can be old, you can be, young. It's an opportunity for everyone. Yeah. Yes. Oh, Nick. Maybe we'll start here.
Thanks a lot. I'll follow up a bit on the brief discussion we had earlier on. And as I understand that 4 out of 5 good ideas come from professors, it's usually professors who have a lot of complicated relationships with the university, and then pushing the intellectual property out of the university and saying who owns what and to what percentage is going to be a pretty, difficult thing to handle. How do you usually deal with that?
Yeah. So at the University of Pennsylvania, we created probably one of the best infrastructure to help commercialized technology coming out of university. And now 75 other universities in the United States copying our model. We started over 150 companies. So our model is this. University starts a company in partnership with a professor. It's a pretty equal split of equity. And when people look at, professors taking 51% of equity, university taking 41, they're like, oh my God, it's too much equity that university is taking. Well, at that point, it's not even a company, it's a paper, right? So then, as we talked about it, so if student creates an idea, because students are paying university, idea belongs to them. Their intellectual property belongs to the student, no question asked. If the professor or a postdoc, someone who is on a salary at the university or a staff member, creates an idea, that idea, the IP belongs to university. And university usually files the patent, right? And then when we start the company, we bring in a professional CEO, again, that marriage, right, to run the company, because we want professors to continue to be employed at the university and do their research. So we bring entrepreneur to run the company. We give that entrepreneur 20%. So we all dilute. So it's like 41, 39, 20, the initial startup. And that CEO negotiates an exclusive license to that technology with the university. So IP belongs to university, but the new company has exclusive license to that technology. No one else can use it. And that's how we start companies and help them. So that's the way to do it. Mm-hmm.
You already answered my question, so I have to make another one.
Okay.
Could you go back to the slide showcasing the 5 aspects that are important?
Yes.
The one with the percentage of timing being the first one.
The which one?
The one that shows that timing is the
timing
most
is the,
one.
yes.
Okay, the idea here is that timing is the only thing we can't control.
Well.
Is it luck?
Sometimes it's luck, but sometimes it's understanding why. So when you pitch to investor, it's really important to understand why now is the time for your company. So once you analyze why didn't you do it 2 years ago, or why it will be too late to do it 2 years from now, it becomes a really important element. So it's something that you can control if you start thinking about it. Why is this solution to this problem is now? Why hasn't it been done before? Or why it has been done before but was not successful, but now it might be? It's a really important question to ask.
Yeah, but it's still the less controllable.
Well, everything here
is...
That's
why it's on top on the list. It's statistical, though, because
right.
It's based on luck.
But luck plays a big role in a company, as it is in any human being. I do believe that luck is an important ingredient. And that's why you start, you fail, you start, you fail, you start until you get that breakthrough luck.
And to add another question to this slide, from my personal experience also with younger people who have ideas, or even have good teams, and even the timing is right to propose something, even if it's a niche market, we still have an issue with funding. How do you tackle this problem? I mean, I noticed that maybe there are people, or students especially around, who need some little cash just for the first 2 months.
Yeah. So
how do you solve this problem in Philadelphia?
So you should have come to my talk yesterday. So in Philadelphia, excuse me, we also have problem with funding. So we look elsewhere. We look at New York. We look at Boston, right? So a lot of our companies actually go and pitch elsewhere.
I'm not talking, excuse me, not talking about large amounts. I'm talking about 5,000, 10,000.
Exactly. So for little money, for 5,000, 10,000, you need to involve investor really early on. And don't ask for money initially. Go and talk to investor just as a friendly talk. I'm trying to solve this problem. I'm thinking of this solution. Let me try this. Let me fake it to see what the response will be. Let me come back to you in 3 months and tell you what I found, right? Once you start talking to investor and not ask for money, they're already interested, right? If they're interested, they will follow you. Then you come back in 3 months and you said, I created this website, so many people clicked on it, so many people left their email addresses, that many people maybe even left their credit cards because they really want it. Now you have real data. When you have real data, you go back to your early stage investors and you say, now give us 20,000 and we will build the prototype and we will start talking to customers. So you go in a really incremental stages, but you involve them really early in conversation, because I think that's the key.
And the last thing about
the link, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Is crowdfunding a solution?
So I went through a very unsuccessful crowdfunding with one of my companies, and I can tell you crowdfunding takes money. To be really successful, it takes a lot of work and serious amount of money to produce high quality video, to convert, to advertise your crowdfunding, to have a conversion rate. You know, you can do it on social media, but then you need to pay money for it. So I had a wonderful company at the university who decided to do crowdfunding. We spent $25,000 and got $700 in funding. I mean, just laughable. So it's, again, it's a luck. It's a luck, and it's a, you have to be very organized. You have to get about 3,000 people aware of what you're doing in the first 2 days of your crowdfunding, because it's a wave, right? If the first wave comes, then more people come. So yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
You mentioned that when you have a professor in the university, you offer a CEO position to an experienced CEO.
Yeah.
But it is you have to find one experienced, and perhaps it is not available. Should they take the risk and do the CEO goes to the team that will actually build the product to be in a student, even though he's inexperienced? And how you train, and if you don't have the money to pay for experienced CEO, what you do?
So we have no money in our program at the university. We had no money to pay CEOs, but so our pitch, and we had no problem finding CEOs. We actually had a whole database of CEOs. If you tell them that you have a patented idea to a real-world solution to a real-world problem, and you offer them 20% of the company, they will come, right? And they will work for the equity. And the equity, you give them 20% and you milestone it, right? So you say, put together a pitch deck so that you can take it to investors, and for that we'll give you that much equity. And then the next step is go raise money. So they're hungry enough that they want to raise money, because then they can be paid, right? So you milestone that equity and make them work for it, but it's a good enough chunk for entrepreneur. And if you need to give them more, right? 30, maybe here in Greece it's 30%, I don't know. But it's enough to entice someone to start working for the company that solves real problem, has intellectual property. It's a winning proposition. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been wonderful. Thanks.
Θα θέλαμε να σας ευχαριστήσουμε όλους. We would like to thank you for your speech and your presence today here. Σας ευχαριστούμε πραγματικά και ευχόμαστε να ξανακάνουμε τις εκδηλώσεις ξανά. Εμείς ευχαριστούμε.